Welcome to the Ben and Walker movie show. That was a weird intro. Welcome. What's up?
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Ben and Walker movie show. A show they say works 60% of the time, every time. And I'm your co host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co host, Walker Holt. And we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, scotch and afternoon delight. If this is your first time being here with us today, I don't promise that my intros will get less corny. In fact, over time, I'm sure that they will get infinitely worse. But please make sure to hit that subscribe button, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. And also give us a follow over on our socials at Ben and Walker Movie Show so you can stay up to date with all the latest content that we make for you guys. Also, just in case I forget to mention it, because I always do, if you're watching it on YouTube, please comment down below with your thoughts on today's show. It helps out a ton, as it always does. Speaking of helping out a ton, thank you to all who participated once again in our fan voted tournament on Instagram, which is responsible for our decision to cover the movie that we're covering today. Those are always so much fun to do and surprising how they turn out, even if we kind of guessed the winner going in, Walker.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I mean, it's very helpful. It's insightful. We love to make things that people want to hear, um, and it is fun on our end to have a little wager on what we think's going to win and see what sticks out. We cheer for certain things. We think certain things are going to win, but usually
Yeah.
all the options are something we'd enjoy doing. So
Yeah, it seemed like it was really close, both the battles with Anchorman. You had True Lies and Anchorman, and it came down to like 2 votes. Anchorman beat out True Lies. And then, which to me was a little surprising, the love for True Lies. Not that I love that movie. Both of us love that movie. So we were kind of pulling for it a little bit. Um,
yeah, I was more for
but
True Lies just because I was due for a rewatch. A lot of times I'm thinking that.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Plus, I'm a James Cameron nut. So,
Sure.
and then Deep Blue Sea and Anchorman. Deep Blue Sea only lost by like 1 vote, and
Yeah.
which was bizarre to me. Again, a movie I love and I used to rent all the time at Blockbuster, but surprising.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I mean, I'm due for rewatch probably on all of them. And I'm I don't know what our age. I don't know. I wish we had like the stats in front of us of like the age of everyone who voted or something like that. Because I just wonder, if there's several 25s and below. I mean, like if Lake Placid, I could see it's just not.
It didn't get a lot of votes. I can look at the demographics of all those who voted.
Mhm.
They're within our age range.
Okay,
Yeah, most of
okay,
them. So,
makes sense.
hmm but yeah, always fun, always interesting. I don't think we're doing one next month,
Yeah.
but
We'll do it some more.
we'll do it some more. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But anyways, you guys asked for it, and we'll deliver it. We're here to discuss Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy, a film that is currently celebrating its 20th anniversary, which is, I always say this, it's insane, but it is crazy that this movie's 20 years old because it's still so fresh in my mind and so endlessly quotable. But if you aren't familiar with Anchorman, the plot synopsis reads like such. According to Google, hotshot television anchorman Ron Burgundy welcomes upstart reporter Veronica Corningstone into the male-dominated world of the 1970s broadcast news. That is, until the talented female journalist begins to outshine Burgundy on air. Soon he grows jealous, begins a bitter feud with Veronica, and eventually makes a vulgar slip on TV that ruins his career. However, when an outrageous story breaks at the San Diego Zoo, Ron may get a chance to redeem himself. This is the entire plot of the movie. Excuse me. Yeah, that's the entire plot of the movie.
Yeah, that's funny. Once you hear about it, it just seems kind of it's ridiculous. But
This movie's
it's
ridiculous.
yeah.
This entire movie's insane. Um, so we've touched on this a bit before in a previous episode that we did with a Will Ferrell movie, and how that 1-2 punch in 2003 of Old School and Elf really launched the comedy megastar of our generation with Will Ferrell. But was Anchorman that movie that really solidified that?
Yeah, it had to have been. It had to have been. I mean, it. Uh, I mean, he. I was familiar with him at the time, and I mean, obviously, he was a star already on like SNL and stuff. But he's like Zoolander, and I just watched the trailer the other day for Superstar. I saw it and I was like, God, Superstar! I hadn't I forgot that existed.
I still
I watched.
remember the trailer of her making out with the tree, right?
Yeah, and I remember
Yeah.
the trailer of her like smelling her hands from her armpits. Like sometimes when I get nervous, I like do that. But I forgot Will Ferrell was in it. So that was funny
Mhm.
to be reminded. And then I remember his role in Austin Powers a few times. So he was just like one of these guys that obviously was funny in what he was in and had bigger and bigger roles, but and like he was recognizable and you're like, oh yeah, this is that
Big
guy.
on
He's funny.
SNL.
And then and Elf was huge, and then Anchorman was like, okay, this is the guy. I mean, this is
Mm.
yeah, I would say solidified's the word.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting to go back and look at like the guy in comedy going back to like over the years, right? So like the 80s on into the early 90s you had Eddie Murphy. And
Yeah.
then from I think the mid 90s until the late 90s you had Jim Carrey,
Okay.
but I would even throw in Adam Sandler as the
Mhm.
1B because he started to really by 1999 had kind of outshined Jim Carrey in
Mhm.
terms of popularity and box office success, because Jim Carrey started to kind of pivot toward more drama. And once you get to 2000, you have like not a guy, but a bunch of guys.
Mhm.
So you have like people like Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, Jack Black, Luke Wilson, and you could even throw in Will Ferrell in that gang. And it wasn't really until like 2003, 2004 he kind of took the reins. And really when you look at his filmography here from 2000 or yeah 2003 really up until 2010 or really
Mhm.
2013 he was the guy. Like looking at it right here, you have Elf, Anchorman, uh producers, Bewitched, Kicking and Screaming, Stranger Than Fiction, Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro, Step Brothers, Other Guys, The Campaign, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. There's a couple others in there as well, but like that is a slew of just iconic comedies from our generation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's yeah. It's a group of guys, but he along with a team like a producer, uh, created arguably the decade of comedies. I love. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the '80s has a lot. I think the '90s has quite a lot, but it's hard to argue with the early 2000s. I mean that the aughts, that decade, especially for our generation, but it just was. That was the movie that was coming out. Like whatever
Yep.
funny R-rated Judd Apatow. Well, whatever was that was the movie that we were all waiting to see. That you went with your friends to see.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I would dub that era like the Judd Apatow era of comedy, which kind of brings
Mhm.
me to my next question. This is the movie responsible for launching that, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, and he went on a heater after this too. Him and Will
Yeah.
Ferrell both, but when you start to think of that era, and you're like, oh god, yeah, you had this, and all of a sudden it's all Apatow. I mean, like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, you had, kicking and screaming, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, Dewey Cox. It's just nonstop. I mean,
Well,
it's so
well
good.
look at this. It starts with this. He produced it, and then he did 40-Year-Old Virgin the next year, Knocked Up, Walk Hard, Pineapple Express, This Is 40, Super Bad, um,
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
Did he? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he produced all these movies like Talladega Nights, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek, Bridesmaids, 5 Year Engagement, Anchorman 2. Um, yeah, just a slew of great comedies. Trillbit Taylor. Yeah. Not all of them worked, but there was a lot of them did. And it spawned a a renaissance of like the R-rated comedy, but also like a generation of actors that are now so recognizable. Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd, you know, a who's who of Jonah Hill, like
Yeah,
all these actors, and it really kind of culminated in 2013's This Is the End, even though like Will Ferrell wasn't in that, but it branches off, like it's just that era of the like that early aughts comedy. It's probably the best. Maybe we're biased because it's our generation, but I
yeah,
can't
but I mean,
think
I,
of.
I think it's absolutely in the argument. I mean, I'm,
Yeah,
I'm sure different age groups could argue it, but it's you know, I certainly since then
yeah, because there's not really been.
it just doesn't make the money anymore. I mean, it just doesn't.
No,
They're
and there
not
hasn't
putting.
been a big comedy star to really break through like that.
Yeah, and there's been a couple movies that they've tried to bring it, like tried to capture that essence in the last couple years, which have all been pretty fun to watch.
Yeah,
Um, it's just
for
different
sure.
now. We got
For
Deadpool.
sure. Yeah, Deadpool Wolverine. Go see it, folks. It's awesome. But um, yeah, I think this is really the movie responsible for ushering in that era. So, Walker, when was the first time you saw Anchorman?
I don't
See it
think
in
I saw it.
theaters?
I don't think so. I mean, we're at 20 years ago, hence uh the what do you call it? The deep dive throwback. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I definitely saw it when it was hot, when it was fresh. I saw it. I mean, this came out my freshman year in high school. Um, Perfect age for it. I saw it then. It was incredible. It was hilarious. I mean, endlessly
Yeah,
quotable. I mean, everyone was talking about it in school.
yeah. So like, I didn't see this in theaters either. Like,
Mhm.
it was one of those movies that, and I think you and I have talked about doing this before, where like you don't see it in theaters, so you wait for it to come on pay per view. And I certainly did that. I waited for it to come on pay per view. I think it was January, February of 2005,
Mhm.
where I bought it. I wait for my parents to go to sleep. I didn't care that I watched this movie, but they care if I rented something and didn't ask for it, which is what I did. I I walked downstairs from my bedroom to the game room, rented it, recorded it at the same time so I could watch it over and over and over again. And I remember watching it, thinking it was hilarious, but I didn't never really like go back to watch it again. It didn't really ever make its way onto like the rotation of movies that I had during that time. It wasn't until like the following year where my brother and his friends pretty much in the summer of 2006 lived at our house,
Mhm.
and they were always over there and they were always watching this movie.
Yeah.
And we started quoting it back and forth. I remember I think my brother had like the Sex Panther ringtone. The
Yeah. That's
thing.
funny.
Yeah. Um he had that ringtone, and yeah, it was at that point this movie kind of became a classic.
Yeah.
Constantly quoting it all the time, just rewatching it. I still to this day, I think half of what I say is Anchorman quotes,
Yeah,
and I don't
it
even
really
realize it. It's just
it's
so
funny.
ingrained in my self conscious or subconscious.
And
Yeah,
Regal, they do the Pepsi ad where they start a line and you have to guess what the rest of the line is.
yeah, yeah, yep.
This
Hmm.
is the "I'm in a glass case of emotion" is a popular one.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing the Titanic one now. They've switched
Yeah,
it
I've
up.
seen the Titanic. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's mhm.
Yeah, but when you watch Anchorman now, does it does it still make you laugh as hard as it did? And if so, you know, what is it about this comedy in particular that stands out?
Yeah, it definitely still makes me laugh. And I mean, full disclosure, I don't like it as much as I did in high school. I don't. It doesn't. I mean, now I still think it's a classic. I still think it's kind of a must see. It's and I think what makes it that way is, first of all, it's
Mhm.
endlessly quotable, and also,
Highly
I mean,
rewatchable.
the unapologetic satire in it that's so thick, and every really cast member's commitment to the bit. I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, I think it's the commitment from the performers and the writers to just make this just bombastic, sarcastic, ridiculous movie, and the actors' commitment to it, and just the script and how quotable it is, and I
Yeah,
guess how silly it is. I mean, it's still makes me laugh.
yeah. I think to me, it's still just as funny
Hmm.
as it was 20 years ago, or 18 years ago, where my love really grew for it. Um, but I think the thing that stands out to me about this movie in particular is the fact that yes, it's stupid, it is ridiculous, but it actually is a comedy about something.
Hmm.
It's about sexism in the workplace, obviously, and how some men will react to women coming into the workplace, but it never really becomes about that. It's
Hmm.
there, but it never really becomes about that. It has something it wants to say, but it knows what it is. It knows what its strengths are, and it sticks to that. It knows its place, and it wants to be funny, and it never once goes out of its way to be something more than that. And I find that kind of refreshing, and I think that's why it works so well because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. This movie should not work, really. Like the plot is ridiculous and stupid, but you're right when you say the commitment to the bit and the commitment to the silliness and it knowing exactly what it is and wanting to stick to that, I think is why this movie still works.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah, I
aged
agree.
pretty well. Aside from a couple things, like it's aged very well. It's still really, really funny. Really, really
Yeah,
funny.
really is.
Would this like rank as like a top five comedy for you?
No, but it's. I mean, it's certainly notable. Um, we just mentioned several that I hold in really high regard for the this decade or this era. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's you don't talk about comedies without mentioning it. I mean, if
No.
I had to get, I mean, top 10 maybe. I don't know.
Comedy's so
Um,
hard. It's so
yeah.
subjective. That's why like when you have like a comedy that, you know, has such great reviews,
Hmm.
then usually it's a if something has like a 80% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that and it has like a critical consensus that's pretty high, usually you can almost guarantee that it's at least somewhat funny.
Hmm.
It's like a horror movie that has like a higher score or something like that. When it has a higher consensus, then usually that means it's probably pretty good. Um, which
Yeah.
I know sounds silly, but it's like when you get something that has like at least like a 60 to 70 something on Rotten Tomatoes, that's a comedy or horror. It usually means it's pretty pretty damn funny across the board. But I don't know if it would rank in my top 5. It, like you, it would probably be in my top 10. I mean, my top 4, my Mount Rushmore comedies is um, in no particular order: Step Brothers, 21 Jump Street, Dumb and Dumber, 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, I mean those are. I mean that. I think all of those would rank higher for me. I mean, I'm a big Walk Hard guy. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that movie's so funny.
But yeah, I
Don't
mean,
want
there's
no
a
part
lot.
of this.
You don't want no part of this cocaine. It's like, no, it makes it even better.
Yeah. It turns all your bad feelings into good feelings.
I think I
It's
want some of this.
non-habit forming. Yeah. Yeah, it's still, even though it doesn't rank as highly for both of us in terms of all-time comedies, it's a classic. And it started, like we've just said, to bring this conversation full circle. It solidified the megastar of Will Ferrell, and it also started the Judd Apatow era of comedies, which is what we grew up on. Um, and speaking of critical consensus, uh, The Legend of Ron Burgundy sits at 66% currently, with the consensus being filled with inspired silliness and quotable lines. Anchorman isn't the most consistent comedy in the world, but Will Ferrell's buffoonish central performance helps keep this portrait of clueless newsman from going off the rails. And the thing is, this movie does go off the rails, but it
There's no rails.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no rails, but it works. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm higher. I'm
I
higher
am
than that.
too.
I'm
I
at, I'm
am
at an
too.
80.
I'm 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 probably at like a 90,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
I mean, it's I mean, yeah, that's a little low. I mean, I'm it
Well,
is what
again,
it is.
comedy is so hard. That's why, like, when you get something that has at least a 66%, that's where it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's probably pretty good. Because comedy and horror are so hard to nail down.
Yeah.
They're very, very hard genres. They really
Yeah.
are.
In comedy, there's so much like I mean, I mean, you could take a lot of movies. It just is what it is. I mean, what are you basing it? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's what do you? It's hard to grade. What are you grading? How funny it is? How the technical aspects of it, the plot. I mean, what do you judge? It's
The
just an
emotional
interesting.
depth.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
it is what it is. I mean, what if about like a fourth wall breaking thing that doesn't make sense, but they acknowledge that it doesn't make sense, and that's part of the joke. Is that thing, or is that like a broken story, or is that tongue in cheek, or is that I don't it's hard to judge it.
well,
Obviously,
it's,
there's something on my mind that we've been.
oh, yeah. But horror is, well, not horror, but like comedy and horror, they're going after two very specific things. Comedy is trying to make you laugh, and if a movie makes you laugh and it's a comedy, that's what it's going for. Then guess what? It's successful. You have to judge a movie based off of what it's going for, not what you want it to be, what it's
Mhm.
trying to be. You can't judge it off of something it's not trying to be. That's like going to Five Guys and expecting to get like a ribeye steak. You're just not gonna get that. You're gonna get a burger, and it's gonna be a really good burger, but it's not going to be a steak. Like
Right.
you can't do that. You have to meet something at what it's trying to be and judge it based
Right.
off of what it's trying to be. And what this movie is trying to be, while it does have, the clear message of sexism in the workplace, it's not trying to comment on that really. It's trying to be a silly, ridiculous comedy, and it succeeds at being that.
Mhm.
So it's successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to, like, what do you everyone has their own little things of what they judge a movie based off or based on, but to, to me it's, what is a movie trying to be, and grading it based off of what it's trying to be. Meeting a movie where it's at. So yeah, we would both be higher, 80 and 90%.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good deal. So moving to some fun facts here. Many of the actors and actresses were good at improvisation. They would sometimes do up to 20 different versions of reaction lines, trying out the first thing that popped into their heads. And I can attest to this because I bought the Blu-ray so I could
Mm-hmm.
like go into the behind the scenes materials on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There is over an hour of deleted scenes. Watched
Yeah, I
every
bet it was
single
a blast on set.
watched
I
every
mean, this
single
group of
one. Yeah.
this group of actors are perfect to just run it over and over. I bet it was a lot of fun. Paul Rudd, I
Yeah.
bet he could do it by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Like
terms
they
of improvisation, he's the best improv guy I've seen. I mean, he's I love seeing him get caught up in some shit. Just
it's not in this movie, but the scene where Will Ferrell's blind, Ron's blind, and he's
oh
telling him
yeah,
to sometimes I wake up in the morning and I pleasure myself to Mrs. Butterfield.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
just see like the constant like trying so hard of not to break of Paul Rudd, and he just keeps breaking. Will Ferrell's just making him break. Um, yeah, I can imagine the set was just so much fun, and the outtakes of this movie are also really funny. But this film had been pitched to DreamWorks almost 20 times before following the success of Old School and Elf.
Oh,
DreamWorks
one of
had
them.
little
Yep.
faith in the film, doubting Will Ferrell and Adam McKay could pull off an entire film based on news anchors. The film grossed 84 million domestically, and McKay had so much extra footage he was able to make a second film out of it, and that's true. Like there is just so much extra footage that they shot for this movie. It's like a
Great. I
whole
mean,
entire movie.
yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I got to go watch two now.
Two, I have more on two. We'll get to two. Co-writer and director Adam McKay has said that in the first draft of the script, the story was about a plane load of news anchors who crash in the mountains and discover the plane which they collided with was carrying monkeys and martial arts equipment, leading to a battle between cannibalistic newsmen and star-throwing monkeys.
Sounds less good.
Yeah, sounds emphatically less funny and worse. There's also like some stuff I heard about a different version of this movie, including like bikers and stuff that was shot, and then it didn't test well, and they went back and we got the movie we got. I couldn't find anything like concrete on that, or
Hmm.
on where I get most of my stuff, which is just IMDb. Um, but yeah, oh well. Both versions sound less funny than the one we got. Will Ferrell's character, Ron Burgundy, was inspired by veteran Detroit WDIV TV broadcaster Mort Crime from 1978 to 1997.
Would love to Google his videos.
I'm definitely going to have to do some research on him. Uh, John C. Riley was offered a role but turned it down because he was filming The Aviator. He says he regrets the decision. He was cast in a cameo in Anchorman 2. The legend continues. One of my favorite cameos for sure. And the big anchor fight.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of who he was in The Aviator. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, the first draft of the screenplay included suggested actors for various roles: Champ Kind, John C. Riley, Brick Tamlin, Chris Parnell, Brian Fantana, Ben Stiller. I can see that. Ed Harkin would be Ed Harris. Garth
Mm-hmm.
Holiday would be Dan Aykroyd. Frank Vichard was Alec Baldwin. The script also specified another member of the news team, Marshall Connors, with William H. Macy suggested for the part.
This is
Uh,
interesting. I mean, I
well,
so I'll get maybe this will be very unpopular. David Koechner, is that his name? The guy who plays Champ?
yeah.
Koechner? Not a fan at all
Really, of the character?
of the human being, of the actor. I don't like him in anything.
Okay.
I don't think I dig his like sense of humor that much. I didn't like him in The Office. I don't like I every time he's one of these like Michael Rappaports that come on set and I'm like, oh god, I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
So John C. Reilly sounds great to me in that role. Um,
See, I love him as Champ Kind though.
yeah.
He's so
I mean, I'm not
funny.
saying he doesn't do it. I mean, he's part of the movie and he makes it work. And I mean, I'm just not a fan of the actor. I mean, he's
Fair enough.
obviously got a bit, he's got a shtick, and I it's not my favorite.
Fair enough.
Uh, Brick Tam. I mean, Steve Carell's phenomenal as Brick Tam. uh,
Yeah, I
Ben
can't.
Stiller, I
I
mean,
can't.
Paul Rudd. It's harder. I could see Ben Stiller and Brian Fontana, but Paul Rudd's so good at it too.
He's yeah.
Ted
He's so good.
Harkin, yeah, the whatever his name is, Fred Willard, I think
Yeah.
is great in it. I mean, I love William H Macy. I could see him being
And
either
Marshall
straight man or
Connors.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's an
I like
interesting world.
I like this proposed cast for sure, but I think we ended up with the perfect cast. Maggie Gyllenhaal auditioned for the role of Veronica Corningstone, as did Amy Adams and Leslie Mann.
I don't Maggie Gyllenhaal. I'm not super familiar with her work. I mean I've seen her in a couple things, but so it's hard for me to place that one. I mean Christina Applegate's great. I could see the other two working, but I think I'm glad we got Applegate.
The only one I could really see working, because I think Leslie Mann is freaking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
She is so damn funny, so underrated. I think she's
Mm-hmm.
just awesome. Maggie Gyllenhaal, great dramatic actress. I've never really seen her in a comedy. Amy Adams, I think, could have pulled this off the
I
best
agree.
out of all of them, but I think we ended up with the perfect
I
Veronica
agree
with
with
Christina
everything you
Applegate.
said. I mean, Leslie Mann is very funny, but
It's a different type.
this role required, and Amy Adams, I agree, is the one who could capture it. It needs to be like an ironic, like because she's so serious and proud, and part of that's like kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because she's got to be like nerdy almost,
Mm-hmm.
like a yes, like that those things that she does, and um takes herself too seriously, and I think Amy Adams would be able to like capture that better than Leslie Mann. Leslie Mann has a
I
different
feel like
distinct
Leslie Mann would have gone in there and overpowered every single one of them,
yeah.
because she just has that kind of presence. I feel like there would have been no give or take. It would have been all like she's going in there to break them mentally. I think that would have happened. Some cameos include Seth Rogen. You could spot that he's the cameraman at
Mm-hmm.
the squirrel riding the jet ski. I think.
Yeah,
Is it the squirrel riding the jet ski? I think so.
it's water skiing.
Water skiing. Yeah. Jack Black.
No, he's at a cat fashion show.
Yeah. The cat fashion show. Jack Black,
Yeah.
Ben Stiller, Danny Trejo, Tim Robbins, Judd Apatow, Luke Wilson, and director Adam McKay. Yeah, and you can
Who's Adam
spot it.
McKay?
He, I think, is a cameraman as well.
Huh.
I think.
I don't know if I have Adam McKay's face memorized,
but you can spot all of these. They all have like
is.
pretty big roles. Out of all these, which one's your favorite cameo? I mean, I think for me, it's Jack Black.
It's not Seth Rogen. It's not Danny Trejo. It's not Tim Robbins. Yeah, it's got to be Jack Black. I mean, Luke Wilson's got a little funny bit in there, but
Yeah,
Jack Black. I mean, Ben Stiller's also got us so dumb,
so stupid.
I'd say Jack Black. Jack Black was
Yeah.
the most memorable for sure.
So we talked about it a little bit, or we kind of geared toward the sequel a little bit, but a sequel was pitched to Paramount Pictures, but was initially rejected. Will Ferrell later announced Anchorman will get a sequel, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, that released on December 20th, 2013. So we can kind of get into this a little bit. I think Anchorman 2, when it initially came out, I liked it. I didn't think it was as funny. I didn't necessarily think it was necessary. I was kind of down on it. But
Hmm.
over the years, Walker, I have rewatched it more and more, and I think it's underrated. I think it is
Really,
actually really funny.
I'll
I
have
think
to
there's
rewatch it.
a lot of great bits in it that work incredibly well.
I'll have to rewatch it. I'll rewatch it soon. I almost rewatched it yesterday after watching this. You know what's funny? Part of it kind of gets mixed up in my head between this and Magic Mike too, because like I get like just the picking them up, going on like on a bus type of,
Yeah,
and like I there's like certain bits in each one that I like. I'm like, wait, which one was that? I know that seems ridiculous. It's just been so long since I've seen it.
I would recommend a rewatch, man. It's gotten to that
Oh,
point where I think it's overhated now. It's not talked about nearly enough. I think it's really funny.
yeah,
I think it's really really funny.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. But let's move on to our award section, man. Let's start off with our best scenes and moments, as we always do. This is like a big cheat, but it's the
Mhm.
first like 13 minutes of this movie
Yeah,
just freaking goes. Like it is rolling. You have the opening line of
the true
like
story
what
thing.
yeah, it's like the following is based on actual events. Only the names, locations, and events have changed.
It's funny.
The title sequence, lanolin, like sheep's wool. Like it's just Audrey, I have bags under my eyes. I look like hell. Audrey, look at me. Yeah, it's just, all of it. It's great, and then it goes into the introduction of the team at the party. The octagon. My penis is called the octagon. My left one is James Westfall, and my right testicle is Dr. Kenneth Noisewater.
Yeah,
Get a couple cocktails in me, start a fire in someone's kitchen, go to SeaWorld, take my pants off, have an IQ of
yeah.
48, all of it. Like, I don't want to quote the entire movie. As I talked about on our Deadpool podcast, we could, we could we'd run the risk, Walker, of
Yeah.
quoting the entire movie. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to stop myself before I do
Yeah.
that. Ron meeting Veronica. You have a breathtaking hiney. I mean, that thing is good.
Yeah.
I want to be friends with it. Um, him returning home to Baxter. He had a whole wheel of cheese. He pooped in the refrigerator. That
Not even
all of it.
bad.
Like, yeah, I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
Yeah, that it sets the tone perfectly.
Like, it's opening 13 minutes of this. Friggin' great. Um, Diversity is an old wooden ship used in the Civil War era. Just speaking with such confidence on something that he knows nothing about. It is a running bit
Sim
that he does
Harkman,
in this
like being
movie.
like Harkman, what's his name? Fred Willard. And he's like Ed Harkin. He's like, yeah, Ron. I don't know why they'd be concerned about an old wooden ship. So no, that's not.
Yeah. Ron, are you listening? Nope. Okay, well, this concerns all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. The teams all tried to hit on Veronica.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sex Panther is
It's the best one. I
it's
mean,
one of the most memorable scenes, and you know it's good, it's funny, but like it has outgrown its somehow it's like one of the most memorable scenes in film. I think
yeah.
like I mean that scene sticks with me. There's about four scenes and they're funny, but some of them stick with you for 20 years. I could maybe not verbatim quote them. I'm sure you could, but it like I
Smells
know
like Bigfoot's dick.
yeah.
A diaper covered in Indian food. It's worse than the time the raccoon got caught in the copier. Yeah, I could go on. Like it's also funny. Champ getting hit in the balls, like he like
Mhm. Oh,
goes
sorry.
to tries to cop a fill like a douchebag, and then she just bam punches him right in the dick, and it's fantastic. And he sells it to the Sex Panther, of course. You know the Brick. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's not Brick, but gonna be honest with you. It smells like pure gasoline. Yeah, it's all great. Ron asks Corningstone out, and it's kind of sweet. Obviously, the ticket to the gun show. I don't know if you heard, I just did over 1,000 in there.
1004, 1005.
Connects to the upper dorsimus. It's boring, but it's my life. Again, something I quote daily when I'm talking to Carly. I'm sure she probably wants me to stop at this point, but it's all great. But it's actually really sweet when he's just like, look, I know what it's like to be lonely in this city. And it's coming from like a place of like realness that's actually coming through him and sweetness, even though he is a buffoon.
He's rock hard.
Yeah. Oh dear God, it's the plead. The pants pleads. Don't act like you're not impressed.
He like walks back to the office like he's.
Oh God, it's so great. It's so great. And it goes to the next one that we have listed, Ron's date with Corningstone.
Yeah,
so many memorable moments here. San Diego translates to Wells' vagina.
Yeah, this is a funny sequence. I mean, just the exposition or the transition from him saying like it's not a date, and then it like he pulls into like the makeout spot in like, San Diego, like overlooking the city, and then he's an idiot and he talks about whale's vagina, and then
again talking with confidence on something he knows nothing about.
No, I'm not prepared. I wouldn't have known this was coming. Let me. And I really even like. I like the I can't. I wish I could quote it, but like him talking to the band, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna walk down C Street, keep it sharp," and he just kind of like sets it all up.
This is baby making music right here. Champ has a breakdown. I miss your scent. I miss your musk. I miss your laugh. So we
should get an apartment together.
Yeah, when this all boils over, we should get an apartment together. It's great. Baxter gets kicked off the bridge. / Ron loses it. / Veronica hosts the news.
Yeah, I feel like the
shock of the puppy getting kicked always gets me.
Yeah. I feel like milk was a bad choice. I feel like that's like another one that like just stuck with me, and it's not even that funny, but it's like I feel like 20 years later, if I could remember 4 lines from the movie, one of them is milk was a bad choice.
I always say that every time I drink milk. It's so damn hot. To me, the part that sticks out in this one is the deep breath. and the Brick, or not Brick. I always want to call him Brick. It's Brian Fantana wearing the underwear, the tidy whities, and he's like dancing in the corner, trying to distract her. I wanted to host the news. I thought you were kidding.
I even wrote in my diary, Veronica made a very funny joke.
Yeah. The Anchorman fight / boy, that escalated quickly. Of course, this is where you get all the great cameos in. It's really over the top, making fun of was it West Side Story?
Yeah, it's this. I mean, this is iconic. I mean, this is one of those ones you just remember forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like once you've seen the movie, this is kind of a scene that you're in the back of your mind the whole time, like you're waiting for.
Mm-hmm. And it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. It makes no sense, like most of the
so
like it makes no sense. And Prick getting a Triton, killing somebody.
Like, Brick killed a guy.
Yeah. Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you about this. You should probably find some family members, lay low for a while, get out of town, because you're probably wanted for murder. Ron versus Veronica. Like
Knights of Columbus.
Knights of Columbus, that hurt. It's something I always say whenever I get hurt. And
this is when they're fighting in the office.
Yeah, she whips
Yeah.
him with the TV antenna.
To be fair,
God,
the hardest I laughed in the movie this time watching it was when they start fighting and people are like, "Oh shit!" And Champ is like, he's like, "Let them work it out." It's fine. Let them work it out. It's between them. And I thought
it's
that was
between
hysterical.
adults. And the funniest part to me is she kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And like he sprays bear mace in his old eyes. He's like, ah.
Let them work it out.
Yeah. uh, the finale again, ridiculous. A line that sticks out is God does not want her to live.
It's funny.
Baxter
Oh
saving
man,
the day.
it's just insane. It's just so dumb.
Yeah. All of this, like, again, a lot of these are cheats
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
just
not, it's just a lot of bits that meld together. Because that's
yeah,
essentially what this movie is. It's a lot of bits with very little story that meld together.
yeah.
And I think if I were to give it to like best scenes and moments, it would have to be the first 13 minutes of this movie. I think.
Yeah, you know what? That is a great one. I think I'm gonna go with the date. I always thought the flute scene was very funny and like
Yeah.
just that run of everything. That like, oh my god, guy, I'm not prepared. I can't. Even though it's too small of a part to call it best part of the movie, but the hardest I laughed was that like let them work it out, let them work it out.
I don't know why, but I just the funniest part about that scene is just her whipping him with the TV antenna. Because that would hurt so fucking bad. That would hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Um, Worst scenes and moments again. Use of the R word. Didn't age well. You know.
Yeah, 2004. You can't. I watched.
No.
My wife and I have been watching Entourage, um, for the last like 4 months or so, and that was like 2004 to 2010 or something, kind of in
Yeah.
that realm. And that's about four dudes in LA just that are like in their 20s hanging out. It is relentless in that show, and the show's good. It's hard to hold it too far against it, but
Yeah.
it's like God, it was so just part of the
Yeah.
among many
It's
other words.
yeah.
But
It's a different time, for sure. Uh, should be mentioned they would probably undoubtedly recast Ben Stiller in the role that he plays.
I would think so.
Yeah, like because
Do
there's
Michael
nothing.
Pena?
Maybe, yeah, I think he would be great. Um, there's nothing like egregious that stands out, but those two things stand out.
Sure.
And for as
And
far as
even then, you could even with so much of the theme of the rest of the movie, especially the Ben Stiller part, like it could almost be played as like sarcasm, satire. You know what I
and
mean?
that's what it
Like,
is. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So it's hard to like really pick a winner there. Maybe just a tie. You know.
yeah.
Uh, Best performance, I think it's Will Ferrell.
No, you gotta be,
Yeah.
gotta be. Um, he commits to that bit. That character. He's still committing to that character. He does it.
Did a whole
Uh,
podcast.
yeah, he does it. I can't remember where he did it. Oh, he did it at the roast, Tom Brady's roast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's committed to that character. This
Yeah,
character of
maybe
Ron.
he's overdoing. Maybe he's using. Maybe he's driving it down. But it's. It's
It
a
works.
it's a testament to the character that works.
It works every time for me.
Well, 60% of the time,
Good one. Uh, does this make sense, Award? This whole movie doesn't make sense, and it doesn't have to.
yeah. I'd have to give it to Baxter wearing mouth guard.
Listen, it is so again. It's so cute that they wear matching pajamas and they wears a mouth guard. It's really sweet. It reminds me of me and my dog Gatsby. Do you do that with Bicey Boy?
No, I have. No. Our bed's a little high. I don't let them in the bed, but it every now and then we'll let them in the room for a what we call a sleepover. But our bed
Aw.
is like really high. like the floor to the bottom of our bed frame is probably like 18 inches. And
Oh
then
wow.
and then we have a pretty thick mattress on top of it. So it's probably like 28 inches off the ground from the top of the mattress. And they're little. I'm
Yeah, they're
scared they're
little
going to
boys.
jump off. They will jump off in the middle of the night and it'll be just, but they're getting old and I just don't think they
You
do well with big
get
jumps
us
like
some
that.
little stairs. That's what
Yeah.
we could do for Gatsby, but our bed is not that high.
Yeah.
Baloo is not allowed in the bed because he a big boy. He a big boy. I'll take up the entire bed. Um, Directly following the Panda Watch Day number 5 report, as Ron Burgundy is reading his sign off from the teleprompter, the words do not match, defeating the plot point that he can't diverge from the teleprompter.
There's no way that's intentional, is it, to show that he has beaten it? Is that?
I don't think it's intentional. I think it's just a miss. So
Oh,
I think look,
well, that'll be the winner.
there's this entire damn movie doesn't make sense, but that is a big plot point. So that I think that's the winner.
Yeah.
MVP, who you got?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I'm probably gonna
tough.
double up. I'm gonna get double up on Will Ferrell. I mean, I think he's the one I'm thinking of when I think of this movie, and he's the one who, from my eyes, made it what it was. I mean, obviously, there's a couple people that could win this, behind the camera that were great and iconic. But I think I'm gonna go Will Ferrell again.
I think I'm gonna go Adam McKay, and the reason being
He's
is
so
because
good.
he's a great director, but also this movie could have been a complete and utter disaster, and it is because of his direction and his ability to create this movie. Probably a lot of it was created in the editing room because he had so much footage that he had to put together. Him and the editor had to put together. Um, yeah, I think he gets the MVP just off that alone. For
Yeah.
me. But at the end of the day, Walker, why would you recommend this movie?
We've touched on it a bunch. I think you get the gist. This came from, I think, what we would probably consider the golden age of comedies, and this was kind of one of the big Kickstarter jump starters to an era of movies, to an era of Will Ferrell, to an era of really Adam McKay and Judd Apatow. Just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really talented people here at their beginning, or their beginning of being huge. And it's endlessly quotable. It's timelessly quotable. It's still funny. It's a turn your brain off and just enjoy some good comedy. Um, it's a great time.
I would recommend this movie because 60% of the time it works every time.
That's it. You got anything else?
Nah, man, I am Ron Burgundy.
This has been Ben and Walker. Uh, well, thank you to everybody who voted for this. It's been a great time. You keep voting. We'll keep doing that. We're not doing it this month, but we'll get back to doing it some more. We really like making content that you want to hear. Thank you for listening. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, comment down below. What did you think of Anchorman? Does it hold up? Is it funny? What's your favorite part? But we'll see you next time. This has been Ben and Walker, and stay classy, planet Earth.